Hello and welcome to day 2 of MSI 2025. I am so happy to be back in Canada, here in Vancouver, joined by Vedius for some play-ins lower bracket action for these two teams. It is a simple statement, win or go home.
It certainly is, Azael. It is a lot on the line for both of these teams. Their tournament run, one of them will end today. The other will have an opportunity to face off in a best-of-5 against the loser of our second series of G2 versus BLG. And I will say, it was quite a different experience for both of these teams. For FURIA, they had a nail-biter of a series, pushing G2 to the absolute limit and falling short at the final hurdle. Whereas for GAM, while we saw moments of brilliance from them, ultimately, BLG stamped their authority. And it was a very one-sided series.
Yeah. The other thing we have to consider, though, is GAM had some strong early games, and BLG was looking really good. So doesn't necessarily mean that they won't have a good shot here against FURIA. But it is interesting to see that the desk, both predicting that FURIA would take this, because I did feel like coming into the tournament, pre-tournament expectations were that GAM would be kind of power ranked above FURIA. So they really have changed a lot of hearts and minds already due to that super close series with G2.
Completely. And we were talking about it coming into this cast. One of the big things that I think really stood out from GAM was just their limited objective control in the early game. We saw it from them throughout their split as well, but they're just not a team that put a huge amount of focus on these early objectives, and at this level of competition, that can be a massive detriment, because then you kind of always find yourself forced into these fights when you don't necessarily want to be. We'll see how things change up as we immediately jump into the draft.
Absolutely agree with you. I mean, it was interesting because even in the games where they were winning through bot lane, where they were ahead early, they weren't prioritizing those dragons. But as you say, that has been something that GAM has done quite a bit. They do like to play towards Kiaya. This guy, to me, is really the standout player on the team right now. Levi and him are able to make those miracles happen in the later stages of the game, but we can still see TF remaining on the ban page quite a lot. And the Vietnamese team's really well known for Nocturne. Even these days, that still does remain true. As we saw, a number of Vietnamese teams bring out the Nocturne and have a lot of success in their playoffs.
Certainly true. Yone is something that FURIA do not want to experience again, something they ban a lot domestically, but also against Caps yesterday they had a tough time. The first pick, Talia, going to come through very quickly for Emo, who we should know is starting in Game 1. We got to see Eris come through yesterday with his RE performance, but this time around we're going to get the Talia locked in. For Levi, I'm wondering if we will see something like the Xin Zhao paired up alongside it, or if they want something a little bit more aggressive. Crucial to note that Pantheon is in fact open, which both sides have shown a preference towards.
Exactly, that's what I was going to point out. Pantheon plus Talia, one of those really popular combos. I do think Poppy Talia also an incredible combo, so really everything up and available. As we're going to get Ahri and Xin Zhao locked in, it will not be a look towards that common Vi pairing, but Pantheon going to be locked in as a response on the other side.
Now, for Tuts, Ahri is a champion that domestically many consider has to be pick ban worthy. You either take it away from him or you just deny it from being played at all. So the fact that he's insta-locked it, I think, is a big confidence play for him. Pairing it alongside Tatu, one of the young prodigies on the roster, I'm very excited to see how they match up, because when we think about FURIA, I think a lot of what happens on the map is driven by their mid-jungle combo. But Kiaya responding with the Rumble, he did get the solo kill onto Bin yesterday, and we know that you were saying it just a few moments ago, GAM is a team that does like to traditionally play through their top side. Absolutely,
and just look at the power picks really here for GAM. These are some of the most highly prized picks right now in the game. Two of the most popular solo laners paired with a really strong ganking jungler. A great setup is going to be grabbed there, and it will be the Galio answer here for Gigo in that top lane. Going to be bringing this into the Rumble. We'll be interested to see if he decides to play Phase Rush or if it is going to be Aftershock. There are some different approaches to how you play this matchup, but both obviously with their kind of clear strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, and he's no stranger to the champion either, something that we have seen come out from Gigo as a response. Right now, though, both compositions looking very solid and well-rounded. Feels like that when we think about how FURIA want to engage on these fights, it is very straightforward in terms of they have a lot of pick potential. There's great follow-up on the engage. Once the Xin Zhao comes in, the Galio follows through. So now we're thinking about what bot lanes pair up nicely with this. Things like Kai'Sa could be a possibility on the side of FURIA. If GAM wants to go a little bit more teamfight orientated, potentially risk-averse against the dive. There's things like Zaya Rakan that could be a possibility. Rel, of course, kind of the prized, engaged support that we have on the current meta, I think could fit into both compositions quite comfortably. Right now, FURIA looking to remove Kalista, just a very staple and strong AD carry in the current meta.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kalista off the table. We see that Braum's going to get banned away. MF and Varus were already banned away earlier, so quite a bit of targeting towards that bottom lane. Always interesting, too, if you do want to play more heavily through side lanes. If you're going to play with some of these semi-globals, then Senna's prio can sometimes raise a fair bit. It is something that we have actually seen a fair bit from Artemis. He's played it a number of times.
So what is the direction there we're going? The Braum ban suggests that GAM is thinking about wanting to get some hard engage on the roster. Things like Kai'Sa Nautilus, we already talked about the Kai'Sa a little bit. Zaya is, of course, something. Ooh, the Alistar coming through as well. Perhaps they're expecting a Rel to come through. If they're not, they're going to look to try and grab it for themselves. But Rel right now seems to be the prized choice, as we would come to expect when it comes to the current support meta.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, when you ban Renata here with Kalista already being banned away, to me that's really showcasing that you want to commit heavily to dive. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Kai'Sa that you had mentioned earlier. You know, if you want to go full all in, be looking for a complete dive comp here. I do think it would make sense. The Rel's going to come through, so it does really fit the bill of what we're talking about, where they are looking to kind of have this Rel as the delivery system for the Galio, you know, diving into that backline alongside this Xin Zhao, trying to assassinate some of these targets.
I'm wondering if they're now thinking about a Zaya Rakan for the bot lane of GAM, if they want to have something a little bit more defensive, but also solid follow-up when the Pantheon decides to engage, or if they want to go for something a little bit more aggressive in the Leona. Seems like that Zaya Rakan is going to be the direction, and I think it's not only comfort for this bottom lane, but also it just responds well to the potential dive that's coming through from FURIA. We talked about the Kai'Sa. I think it could fit quite nicely to round out FURIA's composition. But, of course, the AD carry pool is still very deep this early on in the best of 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of different options on where you can go, but Kai'Sa does feel like it fits the bill as far as what they are drafting for. Smolder, obviously a very slow early game, but can assist with dive with the ultimate, you know, in the later stages, of course. And so they are going to try to secure themselves some scaling here for IU, so they are going to grab that Smolder. It will be weaker early on, but the scaling obviously very, very powerful. As everyone knows, 225 stacks, you get the execute, but the ultimate can sometimes be overlooked as one of those dive tools. It is quite powerful.
So I will say that, like, looking at this, my immediate thought is I'd be worried for the FURIA bot lane. Like, GAM have very easy tools to threaten dives early on the bot side of the map. Perhaps because they recognize GAM as a more topside focused team, they don't expect that bot level play. But we saw yesterday that Artemis and Elio, they're a bot lane that likes to scrap. They are not afraid to get in your face, and they will challenge you in the 2 versus 2. So I feel like the GAM, they have the tools to really punish this Smolder pick on the bot side of the map, and it becomes a question of how well can FURIA control this mid-wave. Talia versus Ahri, a matchup we've seen multiple times throughout the year. Depending on how much jungle influence there is, can heavily influence how much prio they're able to get, and both mid laners will likely look to try and roam and impact the map, and that roam presence is going to be crucial in this early game.
Absolutely is. If you get the push, you can make that first move, and sometimes that makes all the difference here. Non-subscribers, we'll see you in 30 seconds as we are heading on to some G2 fans here, waiting for the next series. So we'll see if they can look a little bit better today. They're going to have to, I think, against BLG, who is looking very scary. G2, of course, going to be playing BLG after this series, but this is going to be day 2 of MSI 2025. We are in the lower bracket of the play-ins. These two teams fighting for their lives. FURIA going up against the GAM. Brazil looking to really kind of upset some expectations here. FURIA already really impressing people on day 1. Would love to get another shot, you know, at a BLG or a G2 if they could win this. You know, really get the chance to prove that not only can they compete in the series, but they can win.
Now, this is the, from my understanding, first best of 5 between Vietnam and Brazil. Historically, we've seen a number of best of 3s and best of 1s between the two regions. Loud and GAM actually holding a lot of the history between the two regions, but the record is actually 5-4 in favor of Brazil. Very close, 2-2 in series overall, but it's very competitive between the two regions. And I think that having this best of 5 is going to be a great opportunity for both sides to cement themselves on the international stage, that pecking order of wanting to compete. we'll see how things pan out. In this early game, Artemis and Elio getting a bit of control.
So you talked about, yesterday, Artemis, how well this GAM bot lane was playing. This was a 2v3 kill that they were able to pull off on an early gank, going so aggressive against the BLG bot lane. Even with this gank coming through, they were able to get a double kill on Artemis, put himself in a good position. Yes, they didn't win the game, but GAM, their bot lane is not to be underestimated. And if IU thinks he can get a free lane here on the Smolder, if he thinks he can just chill and scale, I think that Elio and Artemis are going to have something to say about that.
Oh, I completely agree with you. Zyra Khan can be such a terrifying lane to play into, and I think that Smolder just doesn't have the same tools that a Zyra does in the early laning phase to really fight. And so while Rel does have some great setup, it's going to be very important to keep track of these junglers. And as I say that, our observers highlight the pathing that we're seeing on the map right now. Yesterday, we saw a lot of pathing from Levi towards the top side of the map. He's starting top side, pathing towards bot. Talia should have the tools to get early prio against an Ahri, as you're seeing on your screen right now. And so I would love to see GAM set their sights on threatening a bot lane dive. Even if they don't succeed in the dive, denying farm, denying experience, just better setting up Artemis and Elio in this matchup, I think is a great way to approach this early game.
Absolutely is, and I touched on it briefly in Champ Select. The kind of the options here for Gigo on the top side. Generally, you're going to go Aftershock or Phase Rush. He has chosen Aftershock. What this means is that you can't trade as aggressively. When you have Phase Rush, you can go in with the Justice Punch, actually take an aggressive trade, and then kite out with the Phase Rush. If you try to do that with Aftershock, oftentimes you're just going to get slowed down by the Electro Harpoons, and you're going to hard lose that trade. So it does mean you have to play a more defensive style in this matchup, and you always have to respond to the plays that Kiaya is going for instead of being as proactive. So there is a cost there, but we'll see how he's going to be able to play it out. Because if you do get too aggressive, Rumble can definitely punish you.
Conqueror coming through from Artemis on the bot side of the map as well. Trusting in his ability to build up those stacks in the extended fight gives you a lot of power. Level 3 comes through, quick knock up, quick trade.
Yep, Jojo going back in with the crash down. IU does get pushed out very heavily. And Levi's down here. I think it is just going to be moved towards the scuttle, and he did hug the wall, so was not spotted as far as I could tell. It's good tracking. They even pinged where the ward was on their side, so nicely done there by Levi. But of course, we know that Xin Zhao's up on the top side. Gigo did move down on the Galio to cover, so they have clearly an idea of where Levi would be, even though they didn't spot him.
The Scryer's Bloom actually just spotting out the jungler there onto Levi, so FURIA did get that information, but you could tell how hesitant they were. Getting that kind of a trade, immediately the jungler's like, ooh, this could be a nice opportunity for a dive. Not going to come through, though, as the reset comes through from Levi.
And just look at all this warding up on that top side that they had actually placed down. They're clearly very concerned about a potential early gank from the Pantheon. 4 wards, 3 wards placed up there on that top side by FURIA, knowing that Levi could look for something early and not wanting to fall prey to it.
Especially given that Gigo did get that early push in the 1v1 on the top side of the map, but so far, small advantages being built in both mid and bot just because of the pressure that they do have in their respective matchups. Early bases have now come through from both mid laners with the TPs being expended as the junglers making their way back out onto the map and beginning their second clear. So a very timid and safe early game, something that we've come to expect from GAM. Based on Furia's series yesterday, though, they're a team that I think are both willing to play the fast and the slow style.
Now, this is what I'm talking about. It can be a bit risky as you overheat there, but he's close enough to his tower. Did go in for that Justice Punch, gets a decent trade, but Kiaya could not chase him down. No lane swaps coming through here early as Artemis just heads straight back down towards that bottom lane. And of course, Elio tried to look to see if there was something mid, couldn't find it. Now going to try to see if he can catch IU here. Does force the flash as he used the flap early and then was not able to actually avoid that grand entrance coming through.
The pullback of the feathers. Ooh, Tatu making his way mids.
Oh, will Tuts look for the Charm Flash? Not going to, as Emo plays very respectfully. Early flash, I think it was needed in that case. Don't hold on to it and take too much damage. If you're going to have to flash and you've already TP'd, just spend it early, keep your health high.
Nice little punish. Now look at Levi once again, setting his sights on the bot lane. With no flash, I mean, look at all the wards in the mid lane. You were talking about that vision coverage. They're hyper aware of the potential roam from Emo. They do not want this Talia to be roaming bot, but Levi has snuck his way in, and here comes the dive.
Yeah, has not been spotted. IU does have his cleanse. We'll see how they're going to try to pull this off. They will be looking for IU. There's the aggro pulled by Elio. They're on to IU, and IU is knocked down for first blood. Artemis the one to grab it, but Toots is on the roam here. Toots coming down, does have his ultimate available, so I think they're going to look for more. Levi has got to try to intercept this charm if he can do it. Flash comes comes out from Elio. Turning the damage around is Levi. Emo making his way down here. The charm does not land from Toots. Can't find it on the Ahri. The GAM bot lane survives the pressure as the mid lane roam can't find anything for Furia.
We talked about it from the draft, and I love that GAM executed. The bot lane was doing so well in terms of setting everything up for the dive. They burnt the flash, they did the damage, they stacked the wave, and Levi's timing was nice. Elio is the one to grab the aggro. Once the cleanse comes through, he still connects the knockup, and then he uses the heal to guarantee that he stays alive. Artemis throws out an auto attack onto Jojo, which means that he also takes a chunk of damage as well. And at this point, Jojo's just trying to keep Levi around, so there's a possibility for them to turn the play back in their favor. But unfortunately, the Ahri can't really convert it into anything. So GAM find themselves with first blood.
Yep, you can see them watching on there. Going to be very happy about how this game is starting out. But again, they were able to have really successful early games against BLG, so it's about how they can move this forward. And either team has looked for an early dragon. Yesterday in the series against BLG, that was critical. BLG was always stacking these early dragons, quickly pushing the game towards Soul. And if neither teams are going to go for it, we could definitely be in for a slower pace as far as that is concerned.
I mean, yesterday it was back-to-back-to-back Souls. So GAM were very much dragon averse. They did set their sights on a few grubs here and there. We'll see if that priority is still true here in this game. Right now in this early game, things are looking favorable for GAM. Artemis really being set up for success. The BF sword coming through for him means that this Smolder, being a full level down as well, very susceptible to more plays. Levi with the level 6, pathing back towards bot. And the problem is with the early pathing that we saw from Tatu is he always finds himself on the opposite side of the map whenever these plays are coming through from Levi. Their pathing are on opposite sides. The vision coverage in this early game continues to be strong. They're doing their best to track Emo on his roams, but when it comes to Levi, he's still able to find these angles.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is problematic, and Levi is going to be spotted by that pink ward. We'll clear out a couple here, though, as the fight breaks out on the bot side. Ayu going to get hit by the feather pull. He's getting incredibly low here, and they're going to go for the kill, and it's a 2v2. Straight up kill. In comes Levi just to put the exclamation point on it. He saw Tatu coming, and he wanted to make sure he was there to cover. They get the kill. They're heading to the dragon, and GAM going to grab one of their first early dragons here of this event.
I mean, the early games were the promising part from GAM that we saw yesterday. In Games 1 and Games 2, they were able to find these advantages, but Tatu wants to try and contest this dragon. I don't think they can do this.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to get in there. Levi has the Q Smite charged. Those were the early games against BLG, so kept it close. Toots looking for the charm. Levi's able to avoid it. In comes the ultimate from Tatu. He flashes in on Artemis. Artemis does not have an ultimate of his own, but he's going to get him with the feather pull. Roots him up, trying to cut him out. Flashes to safety, but he's going to be shut down there by Toots, and now Emo's in trouble as well. They claim the feat of warfare, but it is a couple kills grabbed back by FURIA on the exit as they take down Emo and Artemis.
I mean, it still ends up being a 2-for-1, and Ayu ends up getting a kill as well, so a bit of gold into his back pocket, and Toots being set up for success as he's able to find a kill of his own. FURIA being able to split apart GAM was really well done, as in this situation it looked like it was just going to be a dragon, quickly converted into another kill for GAM, but FURIA navigated beautifully. We look back at this play now, and we'll see that Levi and Elios set their sights onto Jojo, and Toots finds a good angle in onto the backline. So now he's doing what damage that he can. Tatu turns his attention onto Artemis. He gets isolated. Emo flashes away to try and help him, but now GAM is split up. It ends up being a 2 versus 4, and there's little that GAM can do to escape from that situation. So FURIA pick up 2 kills.
Yeah, at the very least, Levi able to throw a spear over the wall, gets Tatu down with that common spear, so they were able to finish off that kill. And we're back to live, and GAM gets all 3 of those grubs. So both those early objectives going the way here of GAM, and now they're only 1 objective away from actually grabbing the feats of strength, going to be able to try to get those upgraded boots. They are looking really good in these early levels, but of course, FURIA not down much gold at all. They do have a nice little advantage there on Toots in the mid lane, and they are going to be trying to continue to buy time for Ayu. That is where I think the big problem is for this FURIA team. I mean, he is down over 20 CS. He's going to be down experience. He's going to be down gold. And the Smolder needs a lot of time already. And sometimes when you get really put behind the curve, it can be very difficult to kind of catch back up, as he's only at 53 stacks right now at 10 minutes. So definitely a very slow stacking game so far for the Smolder.
Completely agree. FURIA are going to have to stall things out, but ultimately not the worst position for them to be in. Tatu shadowing Gigo right now.
Oh, Gigo was trying to actually bait Kiaya, and he did chase after, spots Tatu, has to flash out. Of course, he would have been able to win that 1v1, but it was not a 1v1. It is now a 1v3 as Toots is down here. No one's really in the area to cover, so Kiaya might just have to ult the next wave, but even with that wave going to be taken down, I don't know if he's going to be able to survive here. Tatu is basing, but they do cancel it. They're going to go for it. Toots is looking. They're going to be able to go in with the ulti. I don't even know if it was even needed, but they get an easy kill in the 3v1. Kiaya at least kills the wave, so the tower won't be pushed. And Emo is going to get some pressure down in mid lane while he looks potentially towards a play on top.
Levi seemed indecisive as to whether he wanted to support. When the Rumble ultimate came out, I think the communication was, I'm fine. And I genuinely think that Kiaya thought that he could outplay that situation. The part that threw him off was that Galio ultimate providing the resistances that it did. He landed a nice slow onto Toots, but it wasn't enough to keep him underneath the tower, and so FURIA execute upon the dive. Now, Tatu, aware of the possibility of this Pantheon being on the top side of the map, moves to cover. And GAM have full information of this. They will spot him moving into the wave. Let's see if GAM can find a way to punish this. Keep your eyes on the mini-map. Emo moving into the topside river. The Talia looking to try and contest.
Levi's coming as well, and Levi does have the ultimate up and available, so they're going to try to bait, and in they go. The engage comes in, so does the teleport. Here comes Levi. Levi arriving. They're focusing down Tatu, but he has the ultimate up and available, and Ayu's trying to kite out on the other side. Gigo has arrived as well, and it's looking like it's a good fight for FURIA. Toots is on his way. FURIA trying to just buy time for the Ahri to arrive, as Levi is trying to take down Tatu. Tatu does fall. Gigo goes in with a Justice Punch, connecting in onto Levi. Ayu trying to knock him down. Jojo doesn't land the stun, but it doesn't even matter because Toots is here and he is on a killing spree. Levi trying to actually base in the brush, is going to get spotted, does land the stun. Does he have his E up and available? Doesn't look like it. And Toots has the ultimate back now, forces the flash out of Emo, gets the kill onto Levi. It was GAM looking for the play, but it was FURIA who come out on top.
It ends up, I think it was a 3-for-3 at the end of that exchange. A bloodbath in the top side of the map. GAM recognized that they were in a 4 versus 5, as Kiaya was just left isolated on this bot side of the map, no TP available to get involved in the fight. But the idea here is that GAM want to try and get a quick kill, knowing that they can collapse first. But their target focus is a bit off, because while the engage comes down onto Ayu, Artemis can't hit him. He has to focus on dealing with both Tatu and Jojo, who gets a nice counter engage. We're back into the action.
Looks like some skirmishing here happening around mid.
But I think the biggest problem for GAM was just that, the target selection. It felt like that every single member was focusing a different person, and so it bought a lot of time for Gigo to TP in and for Toots to arrive from the mid lane into the top lane play. As I said, it was a 4v5, and the fact that it ended up being equal in kills is still good news for GAM. But yeah, a very scary situation for GAM to play in.
Absolutely. Kiaya, though, farming plates in that bot side, so going to be pretty happy about that. Close now to getting that first tower. That would obviously claim them the feats of strength as well. And this next dragon that is up and available now, if GAM gets it, that's going to be the feats of strength for them too. So very close gold-wise. A lot of the advantage here for FURIA is all on this Ahri. The Smolder very far behind at this point, and is going to struggle potentially in these fights. Toots, though, looking for a fight here on the top side, gets an easy solo onto Emo, and now that may just be FURIA's dragon.
This is a champion that Toots is well known for, and he finds impact in the side lane. Instead of pushing top, he quickly rotates towards mid. Looks like that his main goal is, I want to be there for the team to help secure this dragon, but once they realize that GAM is in no position to contest, he moves back towards the top side of the map. Easy objective pickup for FURIA as we look back at this 1 versus 1. All the skills already used. Toots is able to get past the E there on the ground, and I mean, that's just easily played there by Toots, isn't it?
Yeah. Just gets point blank, nails the charm.
Yep.
And it's such a big kill because not only is it a solo kill, not only is it extending your advantage, that is denying feats of strength, denying the possibility of that next dragon because GAM couldn't actually fight it in that 4v5. They immediately just had to back up, give it off. And so now FURIA is tied up as far as the dragons are concerned, and they have this massive Ahri who is going to be problematic, but it's GAM right back to the objectives, looking for the feats of strength here once more. Going to be trying to finish off this Herald, but Tatu and Jojo are in the area. You can see Gigo quickly running up the river, trying to get here. It's going to be smoked down by Levi, and now they're focusing down on Tatu. Tatu is going to get burst out immediately, as FURIA tried to fight this, but they were kind of just too late, and now Kiaya is looking here. The equalizer is going to land right down onto Toots. He's got to get out of there. He's got to protect that bounty. Jojo, though, in a lot of trouble, and Kiaya coming in from behind. The rest of the team all is here from GAM, and it's a 5v1. Toots has got nowhere to go. Can he even get one back onto Kiaya? He cannot. as FURIA overforce at the Herald. They lose the fight, they lose the feats, they lose the Herald, they lose the tower. That is a disaster.
An ambitious contest from FURIA as they tried to fight this Herald when they just didn't have the numbers. GAM recognizing the positioning mistake, very quick to punish, collapsing onto Tatu, converting it into a multitude of kills, a huge advantage, and look at how the gold swings. Just short of 3K is, FURIA looking to fight back.
Yeah, Gigo teleporting in. They're going to try to go for a long chase here. Has GAM overstayed? Elio is the target for now, going to get hit by the Justice Punch. In goes Levi. It's going to be a triple taunt there from Gigo, but Artemis is hitting back here. He cleansed out of the taunt. Now another teleport is coming through. Ari does not have her ultimate, and Emo is arriving. Will they be able to actually exfiltrate here as Emo trying to dodge out on the charm, but he's going to be connected on. He's going to be knocked down immediately. In comes IU. The first kill of the fight goes the way of FURIA, and now they have numbers. In comes Gigo. Down goes Artemis. It's a shutdown for Toots. The charm flash will not connect onto Elio, but they will get the 2 kills. GAM overstays their welcome on the top side, and FURIA makes sure that they know it.
I mean, they even converted into 3. FURIA are fearless. They recognize that the fight wasn't good before, so they say, you know what, let's try it again. They commit the TPs. Ari's ultimate was just about to come off cooldown, and this is the second half of the fight. GAM, of course, had just won one. This is a 3 versus 3. Azel, you noticed it in the fight. The 3-man talk comes through from Gigo. He's getting good damage down, and GAM realized we have to disengage because the TP is coming through from the Ari. Toots arrives on the flank, and you think at this point there's a bit of a stalemate. GAM could surely walk out of this, but a charm is going to connect onto Emo. The Talia is going to fall, and with the arrival of IU, it's just a cleanup.
And it's great for IU to be able to grab that kill. He got a shutdown, he gets double buffs. You know, the Smolder has been the one who has kind of been behind throughout this game, so getting that little injection of gold is going to help him catch up. He is still very low on stacks, though. We're at 18 minutes, he's at 140 stacks, so is going to be quite far off that 225. But does at least have a couple items here now through. You can see Vietnam versus Brazil very close internationally. You touched on it earlier. It is 2-2 as far as series wins as Kiaya and Levi looking for Gigo. The flash forward comes in there from Levi. Nowhere to go with the Justice Punch. Levi grabs another kill. It is a bloodbath, Vedius. 10-10 at 18 minutes.
These teams just don't want to concede any ground, and they respond to the aggression with their aggression of their own. Toots, you could tell that he was fishing for a pick there. Decided against it, moves back towards the top side of the map. I think the biggest thing is that Kiaya has largely just been left uncontested. While Gigo has been grouping a lot with his team, Kiaya has been securing plates, he's secured a tower, he's been getting a lot of free farm, and you can see that's resulted in about a 750 gold lead in isolation, and while Toots is becoming this monster Ari, advantages everywhere else in favor of GAM.
Absolutely. IU, though, does now have his Infinity Edge completed, so he's got the Essence Reaver IE. He's not going for more of the kind of like spellcastery thing where people sometimes go Essence Reaver Shojin or Essence Reaver Rapid Fire Shojin. This build does so much damage, but you are very squishy, especially once you get to the Rapid Fire as your third item. That's what I am expecting. The Q poke becomes really difficult to deal with. It really can force engages from your opponents. That being said, the engages are pretty good when it is Recon and Flash stuns, so he will have to be pretty careful as you are very squishy on that Smolder.
The biggest thing is that IU's actually taken over Artemis in experience as well. The fact that he was put so far behind, he was a full level down. They've done a good job of getting him back into the game. And we'll get to see some of that late game prowess. As you rightly said, those stacks still quite a ways away.
Stacks are hurting.
They certainly are. But in terms of itemization, at the very least, he's in a good spot. We turn our attention to the minimap once more. In terms of map control, GAM is in a great position because they are 4 towers up to 1. This means that they can push these waves in deeper. And with that mid control they have, they'll convert it into another dragon. FURIA deciding to give this one away, as they know that they're not in the best position to fight right now. But as long as they continue to play around Toots, he is their main win condition. We've talked about it a lot, about how this is a big pick for him.
Oh, Jojo going in here. That was, I think, his real flash. He expends it onto Elio. Elio just dodging back and forth. A couple ultimates there. Was that Hex Flash or an actual flash? I'm not 100% sure, but it looked like it might have been his real one. As that's a pretty heavy commitment just for Elio, and they do just trade his ult.
Yeah, I guess if they find that pick, they can consider turning it into an Otacon and maybe a bigger fight. But even then, it's a scary thing to do against a Rumble. In any case, Ari's ultimate going to be on cooldown for a bit. There's few moments here where GAM could look to capitalize, but the truth is there's not really much to play for on the map. Really, at this point in the game, you're looking for pushing on these waves, getting control over those side lanes, and then starting to get that deeper vision into the enemy jungle. This is where information is key. You want to keep track of exactly where your opponents are on the map so that you can maybe punish. Start off that Arakan when FURIA couldn't respond, because right now Tadu's on the bot side of the map. They have the jungle on the top side, and that deep vision can be valuable in being able to find out that information.
Yeah, absolutely. Elio getting some wards over the wall, but Jojo going to reveal his position to clear this out. Average time to 225 in pro is 2250. So is going to be quite behind that mark if everything continues going on this pace. So IU will be put down quite a lot, but his gold not in a bad spot. He is working in towards that third item, so he's still going to be quite relevant. But would love to really try to accelerate those stacks, and it would be interesting to see if they start giving him some of the Raptors and things like this to try to help facilitate that, because IU just has been really behind where he wants to be.
So right now we kind of take a brief pause. We've seen a lot of action so far in this game, as you highlighted, 10 to 10 to kills. The tower advantage heavily in favor of GAM. And right now the next major objectives we're looking at are things like the Arakan, the Dragon spawning in about 3 minutes, and potentially the Baron in 3 minutes as well. But because there's nothing immediate on the map and neither team is super keen to force anything, I'm sure that Tatu would love to finish his second item. Gigo, same position on the top side of the map. And it's all about trying to complete that next major item that I think both teams are currently playing for.
It is interesting to me that Gigo decided to go for the Riftmaker in this game. Obviously, it's very strong to get a little bit more damage out. It's good in the 1v1, but this means he's on Merchand's Hollow Radiance and he's going to be on Riftmaker. He'll have no armor whatsoever. And you look at the two most fed members on the other side, it's Levi and Artemis. They're pure physical, so Gigo may not be as tanky as he wants to in some of these fights, and we'll see if that's something that does end up getting punished, or if this extra damage that he's building for is going to be valuable.
I think that's also a big reason why Tatu wants to complete that next major item. Knockup comes through from Elio.
Just trying to get a little bit of chip damage in, clearing out these wards here as FURIA staying in the area, realizing, you know what, this is risky. They could actually start this up, and there's 4 GAM members in the area here, so clearly could be looking for it. Yeah, really the only one showing, on wave right now, and they do see that he was around mid lane. Tatu moving out from base. They're just trying to reclaim vision as much as they can, do spend that blue orb. And now I think GAM are going to start it. They're saying, you know what, that's probably their last little tool to check easily. They are already on it here. Artemis has to be careful. He's not taking damage from that needlessly, as FURIA are wrapping around. They will be spotted now as they walk by the Baron pit. This is getting incredibly low, and Emo's just going to try to block off Tatu. Tatu does have his flash, though. He's just going to walk around. It didn't quite actually pincer him, and now it's FURIA on the Otacon here, and it's Jojo just buying time. FURIA takes it, and in comes the Galio ultimate. From the top ring comes Gigo, smashing down with that Justice Punch. In goes Levi, though, does get a double kill, as it's actually GAM winning the fight, even though they lose the Otacon. Can they chase for more?
What an odd exchange. GAM effectively leashing the Otacon for FURIA. Because Kiaya chose to walk from mid lane rather than TP, GAM just didn't have the numbers. You'll notice that the Rumble so far away from the team, FURIA can just walk towards GAM, force them away. They get the objective, but they overforce the fight. IU struggles to have impact outside of his ultimate because of a well-placed ulti from Kiaya. He can't get involved. Tuts also zoned away, which means that Gigo commits without any proper follow-up. That means that the front line just disappears from FURIA, and while the objective was lost, GAM get themselves 2 kills.
Absolutely. I mean, that equalizer was so well placed from Kiaya, even though he was late, like you said. Yes, we see this big engage from Jojo and Gigo, but everyone else from the FURIA side was completely zoned out. They couldn't walk past the equalizer, but a little bit unfortunate for GAM that they did lose the Otacon, so obviously that's not going to really show up on the scoreboard as far as the gold is concerned, but there is still quite a bit of combat power, experience, additional adaptive force as well. And so the game still goes on very close right now. Third Dragon going to be spawning here. GAM wanting to be looking for it, and they do find Gigo here. Gigo forced to flash, immediately does get flicked back. Tanky enough to survive for now, and does have his teleport if he feels he needs to heal up. Tuts, though, is going to be looking, can't connect with the charm. Trying to maintain control over this mid lane here, as now Elio will get poked away on.
Artemis just walked around to mid lane. This positioning is very awkward from GAM. It looks like that they were very committed to holding on to this mid wave. The Dragon is alive, and rather than start the objective off, they've just ceded all control. FURIA have gained access into the river, but FURIA, okay, now they're going to start off this objective. They have the TP on the Ahri, ready to rejoin the fight.
Yeah, GAM are just not really in position for this anymore. It feels like they're going to be having to give it up whether they want to or not. They kind of gave control over the river. It's getting very low. In goes Emo, though, with the Weaver's Wall. And in comes Levi from the top. Can't actually get into any of the carries. It's a great engage from JoJo. The Galio ultimate going to get interrupted, unfortunately, though, and Galio is going to get knocked down. Tatu trying to run. Levi and Artemis piling through, knocking them down. GAM again win the fight. They lost the position around the objective, but it didn't matter because they crushed them as they're trying to take it.
They've taken out the jungler, so that means that Baron might be an option. Levi, very healthy. Ayu, he's overextended in mid.
Ayu could be in trouble, does have his summoners, might have to use it. Clean's going to be forced there as he will kite back, does have the 225. Charm Flash connects. Do they get Levi? They do, but Artemis looking to punish, gets the first kill. Is he going to be able to chase down and take out Ayu? The feathers fly, and it forces the flash there from Ayu. Does get one kill, but it's a 1-for-1 there in the exchange. They lost their jungler for the mid laner, Toots. And Ayu loses both of his summoners.
I will say, a bit of a missed opportunity there for GAM. I think they really could have looked to force that Baron. Instead, they wanted to try and punish Ayu in the mid lane. They do get all of his summoner spells, which will be very valuable in the upcoming fight. But when we take stock of the last fight, GAM's front to back is just melting through Furia. One of the things you highlighted earlier, Azael, was this lack of armor on Gigo, and I feel like we're seeing it in action. He is just getting destroyed by Artemis whenever he looks to play in that front to back fight. The good news for Furia is they do secure the dragon. The engage, I think, comes through a little late as Tatu focuses down that objective, but it's Levi on the front line. JoJo with a fantastic engage connects onto 5, but then he just disappears. And while it looks like a promising fight, the reality is that it's just Artemis melting through everyone that's in his way, and Furia just can't quite clean up any of the kills on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, JoJo keeps getting these multi-man engages, but they're not really in a position to actually follow up. This time, Gigo goes for the ultimate, immediately gets charmed up by Elio on the other side, couldn't even get it, and now it's going to be another engage here, and it's going to be a quick kill for Kiaya as they knock down JoJo over by the Baron. I think this could trigger them to just look for a start. So it is on the side, and he might have been spotted walking into this. There was a ward over the wall, and so now they are going to know that he was in that tri-brush. They clear out the ward, as Tatu is going to be fighting over on the other side to try to reclaim some vision in the jungle. The Baron is started here, and Emo's on a pretty good position here from the Talia, looking to try to section them off with the Weaver's Wall. This time the Weaver's Wall will come in between. Tatu cannot get in. The Baron going to be secured here by GAM. It's actually claimed by Artemis.
Combination of the feathers and the smite was enough to secure the objective. GAM now firmly in the lead here in game 1 with a 5k gold lead in Artemis.
Oh, they're looking for the play here, trying to get aggressive. Elio in some trouble, does jump back to Artemis, will be able to get out of there. But a good bit of pressure from Furia, just not there in time over by the Baron. GAM played around the vision well, just kept pushing back Furia. And they couldn't find an angle to actually get in and look for a proper steal. Gigo, though, going to be spotted out with the blue orb on the side. Looks like they want to try to potentially force a dive. Levi, though, going to preempt the play. Great charm comes through onto Levi. The equalizer, good onto JoJo. Will force them to retreat. This Fury is going to have to just walk out.
Okay, well, my concern for GAM is that they've committed a lot of resources just to defend this mid tower. I think this late into the game, you can afford to lose it, but they really don't want to. And in fact, GAM are looking for a fight.
He's looking, he's going to flash forward, he's right in onto Toots. Here comes the Galio ultimate, they're trying to turn it around. Furia firing through, and they're going to grab the first kill. This time Tatu takes down Elio. As Artemis is in trouble, the feathers fly. Can he actually get back? The feather pull not stopping much. Artemis forced to flash out of there as Emo now arrives. Furia just try and try and try again, and this time the fight works.
I have to question GAM's game plan here, though. They have Baron. They should be setting their sights on these tier 2s, but instead they're looking for a fight without their mid laner. He wasn't available. Emo had gone back to base. This was a 4v5 that they tried to force, and Furia's like, we will happily take this. Miraculously, 30 minutes in, the mid tower stays alive. So GAM have accomplished their objective of defending their structures.
Are going to be able to keep that alive, and Artemis here with his build, and we did go for LDR even though there wasn't any armor being built up, but of course it is still going to be valuable. Then he goes into BT because now he's starting to have to deal with some of this smolder poke. It doesn't mean that his IE is going to be very late. His IE is going to be his last item of the game here, assuming it will be built up. On the other side, you can see Shield Bow just now got completed for IU, so he's going to be a lot more difficult to burst down. He's now crested 300 stacks, so that true damage burn is amping up throughout the game. And he is going to become a real threat. As much as the game has been about Toots, at this stage, it starts to become a lot more about that smolder. You cannot allow this guy just be constantly getting that Q poke onto your team.
Yeah, I very much agree. Like, the game has gone late enough, and I feel like GAM is not leveraging their lead in a way that's going to stop IU from running
just
away from
fighting
this
again.
game. Yeah, we are just gathering in mids. Remember that they still have double TP. They also have Emo's ulti. I love to see
Levi going in on a Gigo, though. Nice. Shielded Range going to be able to block that up. We can see that Tatu goes in. Tatu's going to be rooted up, and it's CC'd up, and in comes Emo with the Weaver's Wall, sectioning off the team. Levi trying to finish one off. Jojo does fall. Toot's going to be in trouble now, as Kiaya is going to have to go to the stasis. Tatu is running. Levi trying to chase after, and 1v2 the top side here from FURIA, but he is put low and will have to retreat back. Toot's now looking. Nice dodge out there from Elio on the charm. Does avoid it and keeps himself alive. GAM get one kill and gain themselves access to this dragon. This game is just bloody back and forth fighting over and over again.
I mean, I don't really think GAM got much value out of the Baron aside from removing it from the Rift. They do get a winning team fight and they do convert it into a dragon. They now find themselves on Soul Point. But these teams are just grouping up and they are just fighting to the death. And I feel like that this will only favor IU as the game continues. Like, as you are highlighting, the Smolder continues to stack, and as long as he's able to get the damage down, this Smolder is going to be a real problem for GAM.
Absolutely is, and these are the live stats here for FURIA's IU. You can see where he was, how much damage he has now done at this point in the game, 24,000 that he has racked up. The early deficit no longer matters.
Yeah.
You know, he has been given the time to catch up and really get to a very strong point of the game. Smolder is going to be a problem for this team, but damage ramping up really all around. You can see the death cap's been done for Toots for a while. Seeker's arm guard now coming in here for Gigo. I actually feel like it's correct at this point. Like, trying to build a Randwinds or pure armor at this point when you're this far behind and the Black Cleaver's done, the LDR has been done, is not going to do much. So I do think the playmaking of going towards the Zonias makes more sense. That's going to give you more survivability than pure armor will at this stage of the game.
So, Baron is in about a minute and a half. This will likely be the next objective that both these teams will fight for. They need to get these side waves under control. Trying to secure level 16 for a few members ahead of that big fight is going to be important. 33 minutes in, it's been an intense back and forth, a ton of team fighting between the two teams. And ultimately, as you highlight, I feel like this is going to be a game of the 80 carries. I feel like GAM has just been winning in the front to backs. Jojo and Gigo, their engages have been good, but it's the follow-up that I feel has been lacking from the side of FURIA. And because of that, GAM have been able to just destroy the front line, turn it into a cleanup situation. And in a lot of these fights, it's usually been 1, 2, maximum 3 kills. They haven't really just completely wiped FURIA off because IU and Toots are playing very safe still. A lot of mobility available on both champions, also very defensive. Whereas FURIA, when they find picks, when they find collapses, I feel like they've been able to get a lot more, but then they're not really converting it into a huge number of objectives. They do sit on 2 dragons for now. Of course, they did punish the Archon earlier, but this Baron is going to determine a lot. I think the death timers are getting up there, and a single fight may be enough to pretty much determine the outcome of Game 1.
Absolutely agree, and I've got to give a lot of credit as well to, I think, Kiaya and Levi, who, you know, when Jojo and Gigo are finding these good engages, they are actually zoning out the backline from FURIA, you know, really making it difficult for them to find that follow-up here. As we are posturing around the Baron, and that is 1 Q from Smolder. Just about losing a quarter of your health there is Artemis, as that rapid-fire Q plus the true damage burn really does become a problem. But this is why Artemis built the BT. He'll get access to that mid-wave, and he'll right back up.
Now, FURIA did a good job. They instead prioritized the mid-wave in order to gain access into the river. They've cleared out some of the vision, but now they need to move back towards mid to contest the next wave. Levi is hovering around the top lane in the fog of war. Toots. Okay, he's going to safely secure that objective.
Oh, in comes Emo, going to section them off. They're going to look for the engage, and they're into the back line already. And it's IU down incredibly low. It's IU getting killed off to start the fight. But on the other side, Artemis is in trouble. Gigo shuts him down. Kiaya trying to get the work done as Levi's going for Toots. He can't finish him off. Toots barely survives. And now we're into a 3v4. GAM looking for more. Trying to get the flick back. They do land the flick back onto Gigo. He's incredibly low. He's running for the hills here, but Tatu is there to save him. Gigo and Toots limp out of the fight with such low health bars, but they do survive.
A quick engage comes through from GAM. They try to punish the Ahri clearing out the control ward around the Baron. But in that choke point, even though Ayu falls first, he's able to get a huge amount of damage down thanks to the ultimate. This engage from Jojo was fantastic, clumping up 4 members. A Q still connects from the Smolder and the ultimate, which means that Artemis just melts on the backline. Levi can't get the final hit onto Tuts, resulting in a 2-for-1 exchange, but no objective gained.
Yeah, no objective gain, but it is just back and forth fights. You can see the stress on the coaches' faces, on the players' faces, as this one is really down to the wire. It's going to be one fight, one player that steps up in a moment that decides the game. It really is on a knife's edge here. You can see the goal difference has stayed pretty steadily in GAM's favor. But the lead not really that relevant at this point in the game. We are 10 seconds away here from this Mountain Dragon spawning. That would be Soul if GAM can claim it. They would love to do so, but a Mountain Soul not going to guarantee you a win at this point.
I think the biggest thing is just the lack of summoner spells for Ayu. He doesn't have a way to escape. In the last fight, we saw how dangerous that can be for this Smolder.
Does have the QSS he just purchased, though, so that can help him somewhat.
Certainly
Doesn't
can.
obviously fix the missing flash, but can fill in for the cleanse.
Ultimate now available for Levi. Still level 15. He has sacrificed a ton of farm. He has not been clearing camps, while Tatu close to taking over to level 17.
And they go. They're looking for Ayu. They want to try to get their eyes on him, but the flick does not connect. In goes Elio to try to finish him off, but they don't have the damage until just now. They get the kill, but in comes Tuts. He's trying to turn around. Artemis, though, still firing, still standing. Kiaya flashing in with the overheat, trying to take down Tatu. Artemis is trying to get enraged, but he just can't finish him off until just now, as there's a double grab by Kiaya. They want Gigo as well. He's going to go into the stasis. Kiaya tanking up the tower as the Feather Pill will kill another. GAM win the fight. They take down 4. It's only Tuts alive. He's going to try to cut the minion wave to prevent any sort of an end, but this should be Soul for GAM.
What a crazy fight in the mid lane. It felt like health bars were just disappearing in an instant as we saw an insane engage come through from Levi. We're gonna get a look at the priceless MasterCard moment of the game as the Soul is secured by GAM. What was an insane fight. These death timers are still quite high. Will they be bold enough to try and start the Baron? It looks like they're gonna do it.
Yeah, they are going to do it. Nice Aegis Assault there. Is able to immune that charm damage as they are overheating and they are bursting this one down. It is already down well below half. Jojo is on the way, but it's going to be too little. It's going to be too late. Very likely. He goes and he steals it. You're kidding me. Tuts refuses to lose. The Ari makes the play and keeps FURIA in the game.
How does he find it? On the Ari, he's been making great plays all game. And he keeps FURIA in it by finding another. The Baron will fall. He's going to pick up a Magi's. But let's look back at this engage. The charm comes through onto Levi. The engage from Elio connects onto Ayu. Damage is still fantastic, but Artemis staying alive means that in the extended exchange, having an AD carry versus not having one is what ultimately leads to GAM's success. It starts with a 2-for-2, but then Artemis working with Kiaya cleans up the fight. Then let's get an ultra slow-mo of this one. The HP gets low. They have the feathers. An early smite comes through.
He tried to Q smite, but his smite was not perfectly timed with his Q. So what happens is the Comet Spear comes through, the smite lands, the Comet Spear is supposed to finish it, but it was desynced. There was a tiny, tiny gap in which the Ari was able to steal that away. That is insane. And as we come back to live, we just saw Emo have to use his Seeker's Arm Guard. He doesn't have a Zhonia, so that is now gone. As you can see, Artemis and Kiaya getting so much work done, but even though Ayu was focused down, he did the most damage on his team. You are really starting to see that Smolder scaling. You get one Q that bounces through a lot of the team.
Exactly.
It is problematic. And worth noting, Artemis, he just bought a GA. So no Infinity Edge in the full build. So that is going to mean his DPS is a lot lower, but he is clearly just emphasizing survival. He is saying, you know what, if I don't get burst down, I don't need to maximize my DPS with the IE. I just need to be able to survive, utilize the BT and the shield bow to do that.
Thank you for Leash indeed. We find ourselves 40 minutes in game one. We were expecting a back and forth, but I don't think we were quite expecting this. 36 kills in a 40-minute game.
It's a banger, Vetty.
The Baron still hasn't quite worn off. This is going to be an easy tower secured. Levi split pushing in the top lane. Gonna push that one out, needs to recall. Does FURIA pick up another objective? I mean, this has to come down to an Elder, I guess, at this point. I thought that the last fight was going to be the determining factor, but we go again.
We go again, and we'll see, though. I mean, if FURIA can pull off a dive here, this could be a game-ending push. They do force the flash there out of Emo. Remember, he already used the Seeker's arm guard, so he doesn't have that. Now he has no flash. Emo is going to be incredibly vulnerable here, unless he can actually finish his Zhonya's off, but not sure he's going to have the gold to do it.
I'm excited for this next fight. We've seen so many great engages from both supports, I feel, in this game. And it's all going to come down to the AD carry survival. And I feel like IU has definitely gotten the worst of it, but they're still both 4-4 in deaths.
Yep.
But this Smolder is having a really tough time when it comes to survival. He doesn't have a huge amount of peel tools, and when you've got this Pantheon and the Rakan flying at your face, there is little that you can do.
He does have the Merc Scimitar, though, and he has Cleanse and Flash now. So he's going to have all of his tools up and available, but likewise, Artemis is even harder to take down. He's got Cleanse Flash, he's got GA, and he has his ultimate, of course, that's just going to give him a lot of survivability. But Toots waiting in this side lane, seeing, will someone come and claim this? Will they be able to punish them?
I can't believe he's picked up a Mejai's this late into the game. I feel like a Void.
He's feeling himself,
I guess he sat there and said, you know what, I don't need a Void.
Oh no, he revealed. He got greedy for the wave, and now we'll see if he can actually get out in time. Levi's going in with the ultimate immediately. He's going to be stunned up. Toots may make the big play earlier, but this time he is probably going to be punished. He's trying to run out. Everyone from GAM is coming, but the rest of FURIA is actually pushing mid lane right now. He's going to run into Kiaya. Does land the charm. Toots trying to make something happen, but it's just going to be a bit of time bought. Unfortunate for him, didn't realize the position he was in, revealed for the wave, and does get punished big time. That is all the stacks off the Mejai's gone. It's an instant sell, and he is working now towards that Void Staff.
I mean, it was something that he was not expecting. The fact that GAM was moving through the river in the fog of war to actually threaten a collapse. They had a suspicion that he was there, and they successfully find the pick. The good news for FURIA is that Toots will be back alive ahead of any objective. Still a minute away until the Elder spawns. While the pressure is favorable for FURIA, there isn't really much for GAM to gain. I like the fact that they did try and push. They pushed in mid, they pushed in bots, made it harder for GAM to really play off any waves. The tier 2 tower is still alive in mid. It's a tense one.
It's just an Elder fight to decide the game. It really feels like, you know, neither team is making enough progress as far as, you know, pushing the tempo on the map, taking down towers, attacking the base. So it is really just coming down to these objective fights and who can execute better in the 5v5s. GAM, very slight lead, 600 gold. Really, it's just the Mountain Soul that does matter as far as their advantages are concerned. The carries are pretty much fully kitted out at this point. Itemization not really going to make any difference. It's just so even on both sides.
The contest around mid-wave. Levi has the ultimate on cooldown.
Levi's going for the red buff right now. Wants to get the global red buff for his team before this fight does happen.
I mean,
it does mean
he's available yet.
Yeah, he's in a bit of a weird position. And this give, again, means FURIA gets the inside track towards the objective. Elder's not one you want to try to fight for after the objective goes down, though. It is going to be terrifying if that does happen. GAM, though, trying to move in here. Levi just going to send it. They're looking for IU. He flashes in. The cleanse comes out. IU trying to cut out. Elio flashing in. In comes the Galio ultimate to try to peel. IU is still alive. IU pops the ultimate, and he is firing, trying to turn the fight around, but IU in so much trouble. Down to 5% HP, looking for damage over the wall. No one can actually knock him down, but the rest of FURIA is falling. Kiaya goes godlike. And you can say that again, the Rumble making the difference in these team fights. GAM takes the fight, and unfortunately for IU, he is basing on a ward. He's gonna get knocked down as well. They grab the Elder, they grab the kills, and the respawn timers are so long.
GAM make magic happen once again. Levi throws everything and the kitchen sink at this baby dragon, and he says that you will not survive this fight. Miraculously, IU does, but he was removed, which meant that he couldn't dish out the damage, he couldn't contribute, and Artemis was left free to dish out the damage needed with Kiaya at his side. They've broken the base, they're setting their sights on the Nexus.
They have to find a way to actually kill these minions off, but I don't know if GAM's gonna allow them to do it. It's up to Toots and it's up to Tatu. Toots trying to kite for his life here, but Tatu's down incredibly low, and he's gonna get burst down by the Elder. Toots cannot make it happen here. Jojo respawns, but that's not gonna matter. Kiaya goes golden just to flex on him on the Nexus. It's gonna be GAM and an absolute banger. 45 minutes in, 30 kills to their name. They take game number 1.
A crazy back and forth, a violent affair in game 1.